Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Eddie Piccard, headlining Jazz Into the Stars in our final week. Eddie, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's great to see you again. I was thinking earlier today that, it seems like I just sat down with you for a big interview for Jazz Into the Stars, but that is, I think it was 2016, the last time.
That's when it was.
You did the concert. So 7 years already.
And we were at the McGrath that time.
So it's been a while since you've performed at Knoll Ridge for Jazz Into the Stars, and not in the. And of course, we have a new location now, and I know that you've been, you're a regular attender at Jazz Into the Stars, so you know what the venue looks like now. But it's different, but it's got its own charm in its own way.
Seems taller.
Yes, the stage is definitely taller than it used to be. And got to have stairs to get up to it.
Yeah.
So, well, let's and we've had this conversation many times, but I'd just love to hear the story of so you grew up in in Eastern Iowa, Norway, not that far away. When did you first know that you started playing the piano and thought, oh, this is me, this is what I'm going to be?
Well, I knew when I played the piano that's what I wanted to do from the time I was 9 years old, and I took piano lessons from the nuns at the Catholic school. Sister Doris was my teacher.
Oh, did you ever get your knuckles whacked?
I didn't. She liked me.
Oh.
So she whacked a few, but not mine.
And then you went to college at Cornell.
Yes, I did.
And then after college, did you go on the road immediately, or did you play around the territory? How did that work?
I hung around Cedar Rapids for a while, and then went to Chicago later on, and I picked up there, and it didn't take me long to immediately be playing on Rush Street and some of the cool places.
Right. Well, I was just going to say it wasn't that long ago, but it was a time when there were a lot of really great Chicago clubs, all located fairly close to each other.
Yes, there were. And we played at the back room on Rush Street, was one of the big ones. And I was just thinking today that the people that used to come and see us were amazing. I was known for my spot-on imitation of Ray Charles. And one time Frank Gorshin came in to see it. And he called me over, and he said, "Boy, kid, that was really good,
Well, and for those, in our audience who, Frank Gorshin was a really well-known impressionist,
an amazing
back in the day,
impressionist,
the Riddler on the old Batman show. That might be how more people know him.
More people would know him.
But he was. I saw him on the Tonight Show many times doing impressions, and he was great. So
yeah, he was so good, and he liked what I did because he had never done Ray Charles. He said, "Here's a blonde-eyed, blue-haired, blonde-haired, blue-eyed soul brother here doing Ray Charles with his glasses on." And he said, "Why? How did you decide to do that?" And I said, "Well, I admire Ray Charles, and of course the height of flattery is to imitate him." And I said, "How did you get started? Who did you decide to do?" He said, "I was an usher at a theater, and who was ever on the screen, I would seat the people in that character." He said, "For instance, if Boris Karloff was on, I'd say, 'Right this way, folks. I don't have anything downstairs, but let me put you in a box.'"
Oh, that's awesome.
And we got along real good. It was quite fun seeing him, and many other people came in too.
Yeah, again, that was a day when, people would hit, 2 or 3 clubs and, all kind of right there in a row. And Chicago was even more of an entertainment capital now.
Yeah, and even the cab drivers would
yeah.
say, Eddie Piccard's at the back room,
So then Chicago, and then I know you played in Florida for a long time, too.
Yes, I did. I went down to Florida and lived at Fort Lauderdale. And I played, one of the nicest places was Stands on the Water. They had music every night, and I played there for quite a while. And a jazz club called Penguins, and also Miami. And I met Duffy Jackson down there, who's quite a good drummer, and he worked with me for a while. In fact, we brought him up here one time. And he did a concert for Kirkwood.
Mm-hmm. And that was, you had another brush with a TV and movie star when you lived in Florida, too.
Oh, Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Palm Air Resort, and Gleason used to come in there to see us. And it was quite a thrill to get to know him too.
Yeah, he got to be quite the fan of you, didn't he?
Yeah, they say.
And eventually, you came back to Iowa and continued, obviously, to perform all over. But then you opened up, your own club, which to date has still kind of been, the only full-time jazz club in recent memory. I mean, kind of the Tender Trap and your place,
then
yours.
I picked up the torch after the Trap closed, but people still miss it, and it's been 25 years.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, we still talk about it. That was a great time because you had music in there every night. You brought in people, and I know that whenever somebody would play in Cedar Rapids, particularly if we had a guest here at Kirkwood.
At Kirkwood, Dr. Feldkamp would bring
he would always,
them out,
yeah.
And they invariably would want to sit in. I didn't even have to ask,
I remember Russell Malone.
I remember Russell Malone.
That was the one I remember the most.
That was the best one, I think, of all. He came to play. We had a guest trio there that night, the Miami Jazz Trio, and he sat in with them. And then he stayed up on stage when my group went back. And then when the place closed, he and I sat there till wee hours swapping back and forth saloon songs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite
Oh, that had to be a memorable time.
Dallis loved it. She said, I finally get to sit down and watch.
And so and then they tore down the club to put up an AutoZone. So that was,
like we need that.
Yeah, kind of an ignominious end there. Right. And your quintet, have played around a lot, but lately, I mean, although you've been doing them for several years, you've worked the Busch Brothers in on horns to bring a little bit of a different perspective to the show. When did you first start working with them?
Well, a long time ago, I met them in Dubuque, and they're from Wisconsin, and they. Sometimes I'm accused of being geographically challenged because I want to play the New Orleans music, so I go get 3 horn players from Wisconsin. Does it make any sense? But they really know their stuff, and since I've always been a fan of New Orleans music and Dixieland and traditional jazz, these guys fill the bill.
And they'll be 3 horns, right? So trombone, trumpet, clarinet. I can't remember. I mean, I've seen the ensemble, but that's right.
Yeah, that's right. And then we're going to have a surprise for you too. I have Tim Crumley on drums, and he plays really great trumpet.
That's right. He did start out as a trumpet player. Student of John Haim, by the way. back in high school. He was one of John's first crop of students at, now I cannot Linville Sully, but I can't remember now what town it was. But yeah, he was one of John's students.
And he's going to pick up the horn, and then I'll switch Rich Martin from the vibes over to the drums, because he originally started out as a drummer. So he's quite good on drums.
Well, that's just like Trombone Shorty. At the end of their concerts, they all switch up instruments and play a song on different instruments.
That's right. Well, we'll have that surprise going.
Oh, that'll be a blast.
Yeah.
So at the time we're taping this, Eddie, a couple of weeks prior to your concert on the 24th of August, Kerry Jahan has just passed away, and this his funeral week, and he was just a huge fan of New Orleans jazz, and of course we've talked about him as a fan of Glenn Miller, but he never missed one of your shows.
He sure didn't. He and his wife Jean always came, and even before he and Jean got married, he interviewed me and came to see me, and then I ended up playing their wedding reception in 2001. They held the reception at the top of the Five, and I played that for them. I'll remember it always.
Yeah, well, I know that he'll be with us in spirit. We're going to kind of dedicate your performance to him on the 24th, because I know that if he would have been able, he would. I know he's there with us.
Right,
definitely,
he's there, and he and I liked all the same music and the same people. Jack Teagarden and Louie and all the greats. We shared that.
So we talked about the configuration of the band, some of the person. I think we mentioned everybody but bass. Who
I'll have Dr. Craig Dove on bass, and he'll be playing his upright bass.
And it'll be a New Orleans themed show. Mm-hmm. So for those who haven't seen you, especially with horns, how is that different than the regular quartet or quintet?
Well, usually I start out and do a few tunes with the quartet, and then bring on the three horns as sort of a dramatic effect, and we do the New Orleans songs. We do Basin Street Blues and Bourbon Street Parade and Way Down Yonder in New Orleans and Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans, all those theme songs that take you right down the Mississippi from Wisconsin.
From Wisconsin and Iowa, all the way right down the Mississippi.
Right down to the mouth, yeah.
Well, it's New Orleans Jazz with Eddie Piccard and the Busch Brothers coming up on the 24th, our final Jazz Under the Stars. And we've got a student ensemble opening, as we have in the past. And this one is unique. It is a brass quintet, an all-female brass quintet from the University of Iowa, led by a young woman named Anna Kelly. Anna's a trumpet player who graduated from Linmar a few years ago and had several featured performances. Sure. She did kind of a featured solo with Mike McMahon on trombone at the Corridor Jazz Project a few years ago. You've done the Corridor Jazz Project, yes, as a guest artist several times,
right?
And
usually with Prairie.
Yes, because you have a very special relationship with students in the College Community District.
Yes, I have, because I drive the bus. But I made a lot of new fans that way too. Yep,
so true. And I'm sure some of them will be with us on Thursday at Jazz Under the Stars. Well, Eddie, always a pleasure to have you on our stage. Always great to have you in studio as well. Looking forward to a great conclusion to Jazz Under the Stars coming up on Thursday the 24th. Music starts at 6:30. We'll have all the regular stuff, food, merch, and, of course, a couple hours of really great music. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:30 or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture or using your favorite podcast player. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.